Hello and welcome to Riverfront Territory. I am C. Trent Rosecrans, longtime Reds beat writer for currently the Athletic. I've been around, gotten a lot of places have gotten tired of me, not just one.
Not this place.
Not this place yet. Always got to say yet, Danny. And that the interrupter in chief is my co-host. Not to be confused with the pitcher of the same name who went 6-10 with a 7.71 ERA at Colorado Christian from 2014 to 2016, but instead the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Famer and University of Miami Hall of Famer, Mr. Danny Graves.
Wait, so there's somebody named Danny Graves that went. What's cool?
Colorado Christian, 2014.
Really?
2016.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting for some bizarre reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't run into that many other C. Trent Rosecrans running baseball. Thank God, because they would probably do it better. But
No, that's a really good nugget. I might have to look up this one Danny Graves who was 6-10. I mean,
yeah.
He had more wins than I did when I was started. I was 4-15, so there's that.
And you had more losses too. So,
well, yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but
I was. So,
yeah,
this is Riverfront Territory. Did I say that a Cincinnati Reds podcast or show on the Foul Territory Network? And today we're going to continue our look at second base, or position by position. Today is second base, and I kind of separated these into each position: first, second, third, short, and then we'll do the outfield probably all at once. But the reason I wanted the infield is a little different because there is more separation, whereas there's maybe a lot more fluidity in the outfield. And second base is 2 years ago, you had this team thinking, hey, we got it knocked down. We got it locked down for a long time in Matt McLain. Then he got hurt in 2024 and then came back last year and had some struggles. Danny, where do you stand with Matt McLain right now?
I'm still a huge fan, huge believer in Matt McLain. I still think that this guy has a lot to offer. On the field, obviously, he went through some injuries, and that shoulder issue that he had is like, I don't think people understand how big of a deal that was, and maybe still is. Hopefully it's not, but I feel like once he gets completely healthy, hopefully that's the case coming into spring training, that this guy's going to be what he was when he broke into the big leagues, just mashing some baseballs, playing great defense wherever they play. I know he played a lot of shortstop at that time, but I mean, this guy's a spark plug. He's kind of the guy that you need at the top of the lineup, the grinding at bats, the grinder on the field. If we could just get him on the field and healthy, people are going to see the real Matt McLain. I'm still a huge believer in him, Trent.
I hate to just be boring and agree with you, but I'm with you. Like, for me, Matt McLain he's just this is a term that you will understand what it means when people say this and how it can be interpreted. But he's a ball player. Like, he just goes to play every day. Even last year when he's struggling, he is there to play every day, and he just is he does what you need to do. And I think of some other guys. I remember having this discussion with Kyle Farmer, who's one of the all-time great guys, and Farmer just like looking over, and he's like, he's a ball player. It's like Jonathan India, Kyle. I think Kyle would consider himself a ball player. I certainly did. But there are guys who play ball, and then there are ball players, right? Like, Danny, you know this. You've been in a clubhouse so long. Explain to us the difference between a guy who plays ball and a ball player.
So, a guy that plays ball is kind of the guy that he's just naturally good, and he just goes out and does what he can do, collects his paycheck, and if he's a little bit hurt, he might not want to play that day. Or if he thinks that it's not going to benefit him. He might not want to play that day. A ball player is a guy that it doesn't matter what hurts, because usually everything hurts at some point. It doesn't matter if he's hurt. It doesn't matter what kind of mood he's in. He just wants to go out there and get dirty. Um, Anything that he can do for his team to win, he's going to do. And that's kind of Matt McLain. It's hard to find those guys these days because of the contracts, because the agents being involved, and because got to be careful, don't want to get too hurt, or else I'm not going to be able to get that huge contract. Unfortunately, I feel like it's that way with a lot of players, but not Matt McLain. It says a lot about him because last year, with this recovering from the injury, looking from the outside, I guarantee he wasn't 100%, but he didn't want to take days off. He wanted to play. That to me is a ball player.
Yeah, and the thing with Matt, like, there are also guys who, when they're not playing well, aren't wanting to play and are maybe happy to have a day off. And I get it. I mean, I love a day off too. I'm
Yeah.
not going to throw stones, but like Matt McLain is a really nice guy, easygoing. But on those days that he is not in the starting lineup, he's a little upset. And I like Elly De La Cruz is the same way. Those guys want to play every day. We just talked about the Reds Hall of Famers. Brandon Phillips was that way. Brandon Phillips wanted to play every single day. And so it is. It's a special thing to have, and it's also harder in the middle infield. We're going to talk a little bit later about what makes these second basemen and what you look for and all that. But, in the middle infield, there's just so much going on. There's so much movement. There's so much teamwork with your shortstop and the other infielders. Like, those guys are a pair. And I think with Brandon Phillips, he had to deal with so many different shortstops. I don't remember the count of the number of shortstops he played with, and he was always there at second. But you saw the beginning of that, like a McLain, De La Cruz, middle of the infield, and that's where a lot of these dreams start, right? Like you just dream on that because you're like, oh man,
yeah,
we could be set here, and you don't have to worry about either side. And the thing with those two is they're very good friends. They've played together for a while. It's the funniest thing. One is, probably shorter than his listed height, and the other seems taller than his listed height. One's from the Dominican Republic. One's from Southern California. Just like frickin' frack. Difference, completely different, but yet very close. They also came up at the same time playing shortstop. And I just remember a scout saying this in Dayton, I believe. He just said, hey, I went up there and watched. And what I was really impressed by was the way those two guys played together, no matter who was at shortstop that day. When Elly was at shortstop and Matt was at second, they played well together. When Matt was at shortstop and Elly was at third base, they played well with each other. Like, if a guy, if Elly went in front of Matt to make a play, most shortstops not real cool with that.
Yeah.
But Matt he understood what was going on. And I remember talking to Barry Larkin about that. And he goes, yeah, man, I wouldn't have had any of that. But for him, that's how he was built. And he was impressed that these two guys coming up at the same time, because remember, Barry Larkin's a guy who came up the organization. It was him and Kurt Stillwell, and you knew it was going to have to be one of them. Yeah. And so they were always competing, and it's never felt like Elly and Matt are competing against each other, instead competing with each other.
Yes, making each other better, right? It's like if you have extra starting pitchers and everybody's battling for the number 5 spot, you battle against each other and push each other to get better. You don't play to like get mad at the other guy if he has a better game than you, or gloat because you had a better game than him. It's pushing each other to get better. And these two guys, you could see it from the outside. It's clear as day that they are for each other.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and I'm not starting rumors, I'm not like speculating, I'm saying, if you mentioned how one's at second, one's at short, they're together, one's at short, one's at third, they're together, if you put them in the outfield, they would be able to play together. That's how comfortable they are around each other on the baseball field. And that's even better to hear that they're great friends off the field. um and it's great for the organization knowing that you have a middle infield that is like this. Like, think of way back in the day, and I know you'll appreciate this, Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. They were staples for the middle infield in Major League Baseball in the 80s. Everybody knew who they were. And it just makes baseball different. It makes pitching a little bit not easier, but it makes you feel a little bit better when you have middle infield like that are together for so long and can work together the way they do.
I mean, yeah, you're confident as like, when you had like Barry Larkin and Pokey Reese,
Yeah.
you probably felt
Yeah.
pretty good if like you weren't going to try to get in the way of any ball because you're like, well, if it's hit anywhere I can touch it, well, I know those guys got it.
There's video of me I've seen that people have posted that balls going like close to me where I could usually get, and usually I like to try to get, and I kind of pull my arm back because those two are back there. Same with like when I got traded there, it was Barry Larkin and Brett Boone. Brett Boone has some Gold Gloves under his belt too. And then when Brett left, well, we just happened to put another Gold Glover there at second. So, and I remember those two, Barry and Pokey. It didn't matter what the score was. It didn't matter if we were winning by 10 or losing by 10. Like, they were still trying to keep the ball on the infield so that somebody's not scoring from second base. And a lot of times you don't see that. Pokey was diving when we're down by 10 and I'm in there to get some work in just to make sure that guy doesn't get to home plate.
Pokey Reese was so good defensively at second base. And I know there's long been this debate, like, who was the Reds' best defensive second baseman, Joe Morgan or Brandon Phillips? I'd put Pokey Reese in there as well, because that guy, he was so good. You look at the famous Derek Jeter play against the Red Sox where he went into the stands. I think it was in the whatever. I still think that's the second best catch by a shortstop in that game, in that area, because Pokey Reese had one for the Red Sox. If you go back and watch that game, and I thought his was more impressive than Jeter's, but he was wearing the wrong uniform.
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter is a great player, a Hall of Famer.
Could you imagine if Pokey played for the Reds longer than he did? I don't know how many years. He got drafted by the Reds, but he wasn't there nearly as long as Brandon or obviously Joe. But I mean, if he would have been there for close to a decade, he would have had a lot more Gold Gloves for sure.
Yeah, and he didn't have the bat of either of those guys in that.
Right.
Well, so this is a spot. Oops, wrong one. Oh man, I thought I was good. There we go. Matt McLain's probably the starter. If he's healthy, I think he is. I know there are a lot of people say, "Oh, he's got to earn a spot." I think if Matt McLain is healthy, there's no earning that spot. It's showing why you had that faith to begin with.
Yeah.
And
well, it's his to lose.
Yeah. I mean, and he has to lose it. And it's not going to be numbers, what he does in the Cactus League. It's going to be everything else. And honestly, that everything else, that's where Matt McLain shines. So I think that's a really interesting thing. If it's not Matt McLain, who is it? Maybe Spencer Steer can play there some. We saw Sal a little bit, and he's played more second base in the minors than first. But Sal's going to be a first baseman. And then Tyler Callahan is a guy who's I think people have forgotten a little bit about. He is a second baseman, even though I think most people think of him as an outfielder because, well, you know, though when they bring him up and remember him, sadly it's for getting hurt and
Yeah.
running into a wall. But Callahan's got a bat, and he's a guy to watch, just because I think that flexibility of being able to play both at second, which is his pretty much his natural position, but also like going out in the outfield. And I mean, at the very least, we can say he's fearless, right?
Yeah, run into a wall for you.
Yeah, he'll run into a
Yeah.
wall and make the catch as long as his bones are intact.
Yeah.
Still, like, just I get most rules, but nobody understands that, especially Tyler Callahan, especially the rest of us. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a guy who just played all out, paid a high price because that was disgusting. I never want to see video of that again.
Yeah, there's some things you only need to see once, and that's it.
Yeah,
Totally go off topic. What's his status? Have you heard? He's
yeah,
ready to
he's
go.
yeah. I talked to him at Reds Fest a bit. He's feeling great. He's swinging. Tito said he watched him swing and loved what he saw. I talked to Brad Metter yesterday, who was in Arizona, and he said, Tyler's already out there in the cage, looks great. Um,
Nice.
Here's a guy I think is going to get some at bats for this team this season. It may not be opening day, but he will be, with a guy with options like that, will be up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, I think he's an interesting player. He's going to be a bench player, but you need bench players. And
Yeah.
a young guy like that, I think it's going to be really good for him. Although pinch hitting is different than DHing and all those things, but
Mm-hmm.
he will be able to see Gino and how Eugenio Suárez works towards being a DH and what he
Yeah.
does in that bats, and just talking to Eugenio in the dugout. I think that can help a guy like Tyler Callahan quite a bit, and everybody else on this team, because this is a veteran, really, really good player.
Yeah.
Gino, I mean, not Tyler.
Right. Right. But yeah, I think any young player needs to sit and pick the brain of Eugenio Suárez. As much as he's going to be on the bench as a DH, there's no reason not to sit around this guy and just, even if you don't say anything, just kind of watch what he does and follow along, kind of just, take in what he's doing. And he's a leader by example, and he's a leader vocally. This is I don't know how much good stuff we can talk about Gino. This is like the best thing ever for the Reds. This is such a huge deal. And I'm telling you, these younger players, they have to understand how important this is to have a guy like Gino in the clubhouse.
Who do you have any like parallels to guys that when you were young that you just watched, listened to, and hung on their every word?
So as far as position players, it was Barry, because Barry was the first guy that ever talked to me in a Cincinnati Reds clubhouse. And then I just, obviously knowing who he was before I got there, I just wanted to watch what he did and how he went about his business, what he did on and off the field, and you know, signing autographs. Barry told me one day early in my career, somebody was asking him why he signed so many autographs, and he told me, he's like, why I signed so many autographs? Because one day somebody's not going to want your autograph anymore, so sign them now. And I'm like, wow, that's very simple but very cool. Um, and there, that day comes where nobody's asking for your autograph, and that's great, but take advantage of it while you're there. That's the non-baseball part that I learned from Barry. As far as pitchers, it's Pete Harnish was a guy that I mean, one of the funniest guys, one of my favorite teammates as a pitcher, but just watching him and his work ethic, like I didn't try to follow his antics because he liked to be naked and he liked to, do jumping jacks naked in the clubhouse. I wasn't that guy, but as far as work ethic, I never saw anybody work as hard as he did. But then, of course, he'd go eat a couple large pizzas and he'd say, I play for the tie. But this dude worked as hard as he could to be ready to pitch every fifth day.
Yeah. There's a lot of images in that, Danny.
There's a lot more I could say, but obviously not on the air.
Yeah. And so I think this is, I mean, I know we talked about it, yes, or last time we got together, and everybody's been talking about it since, but like the Gino thing is real, and there's a real reason. I mean, I talked to Emilio Pagan yesterday. We talked for like a half hour, and it was like 8 minutes in before either one of us brought up that, hey, this guy hit 49 home runs last season. He was fifth in baseball. The guys ahead of him were Cal Raleigh, Kyle Schwarber, Shohei Ohtani.
And did Judge hit 50 last year?
Yeah. Those are the only people in baseball who hit more home runs than Eugenio Suárez. That's a pretty good list. I don't care if you're fifth on that list of 5. You're feeling good. Just to be
But I love that point you just made. You guys went 7 minutes of talking before you mentioned that he had 49 homers. 49 homers is not easy to do.
Yeah, that's not a subhead. That's a headline. That's newspaper talk for you back when
newspaper existed. Yeah. What is that? Newspapers, right? And for years, 49 homers would have led all of Major League Baseball. Now you have a few guys that can hit more than that, but that's not even the best part of Gino's
presence.
His baseball prowess. It's what he does off the field in the clubhouse,
and that matters. Who's the best clubhouse guy you'd been around?
Sean Casey, probably. I mean, it's hard not to just get excited talking about Casey whenever we're in the clubhouse. The guy was always just saying hello to everybody. Always the kindest guy, just like he is off the field. But then there's the excitement of Casey to kind of pump you up. And there was one year that after every win, we would come in and sing "Beer for My Horses" by Toby Keith and Willie Nelson. But we could not start it until Sean Casey gave everybody a beer, put it in our hands, and then started the music. We all started singing when Sean let us start singing. And it was awesome. Like this guy is a great clubhouse dude, and I think everybody would agree. Just seeing the way that he is.
Like I don't know that I'd put those two things together, but like that's the energy Gino brings too. Is just you want to smile around him, and like you can't help but smile around him.
Yeah,
and that's Sean Casey. That's Eugenio Suárez. Let's get back to this Matt McLain. It was a tough year last year. He played 147 games. So again, we're talking about a guy who was there every day, showed up. The difference between his rookie year when he had a 3.6 BWAR in 89 games, and that's a counting stat, versus a 0.0 in 2025. He was a 290 hitter with a 357 on base, 507 slug that rookie year. That's a 127 OPS plus. That's really good. And then last year he's a guy who hit 220, was on base 300, 343. That's less so. But yeah, and I think the on base, the difference is really that average difference. That's not, a real big difference in the peripherals. And I think that's so much comfort at the plate. And I don't know that he ever was where he was. And a lot of it is just, you are used to your body being able to do things. And when they aren't, just like, like you were used to being able to throw a certain way and the ball acting
Uh-huh.
and giving you that immediate feedback that you're doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
then Matt was, it's kind of the same, where it's just like he was hitting the ball and it wasn't doing what it's always done.
Right.
And that's a really hard thing to do.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so that's the issue. I mean, actually, you look at it, and I said the peripherals and all that. His strikeout rate was about the same, 28.5, 28.9% in those 2 seasons. He increased his walk rate. So while his on base percentage wasn't as good, that all came from the hits he was missing.
Yeah.
And another thing he did when he was on base, he was a better base runner. You saw
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. His injury was his shoulder, and that is impacts so many things. But when you're talking about base running, that's legs and brain, and
Yeah.
he was able to do both of those. Here's the Savant page for Matt last year. Batting run value, poor. That's a deep blue. That like, he was just struggling at the plate, And you look at it, he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't barreling the ball up. His bat was slower. A lot of that is your shoulders, you know.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and his range, and even like you look at the arm strength was down, but sprint speed, fielding run value and base running value. That's how you can contribute even if you're not hitting. And
Yeah.
so what you see there is a guy who's not hitting, and I don't think it's because he can't hit. I think it's part of that shoulder thing. Like I know I've said this a million times, but Tommy
Mm-hmm.
Pham, like right when Matt got out, got hurt, Tommy Pham reached out to me and was talking about shoulders you just don't mess with. We remember Joey
Mm-hmm.
Votto. We remember Eugenio Suárez
Mm-hmm.
after his shoulder injury. You and even for pitchers, like elbow's not good news, shoulder is bad news.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it takes time.
Time. Exactly. And when I got traded to the Reds, I had a shoulder issue already, that I had just rehabbed and came back and threw in some games, and I get traded, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. But it didn't like hurt. I felt like I was good enough to go out there and play. But like you mentioned, my ball wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. When I was really healthy, it was doing stuff I wanted to do. So now I go and rehab, get surgery, and do all that. And I come back the next year. That's when things start to fall back in place. And with Matt and a shoulder hitting, like, could you imagine like trying to hit with a shoulder that was all jacked up and it's not to the strength that it needs to be?
I
You
can't
know,
imagine hitting.
well, we can relate it to everyday stuff.
Right.
If one side of your tires are lower than the other side of the tires, it's not going to perform as well. You're going to push it to try to perform, but it's not going to be able to make those turns and maybe not be able to stop like it should. Oh, but if you get them both, all of them filled up and all of them the same, then it's going to be working a little bit better. It's the same thing with your shoulder, as simple as that.
Well,
Like,
and the other thing you're going to do is you're going to put stress on other parts of the car. So those
sure.
other things are going to wear faster and
Yep.
maybe I can't tie this analogy all together, but like with any of us, when you're throwing and if it, the old joke, like, well, it hurts when I do this, doc. Well, then don't do it. But you start compensating and you get into
Yeah.
bad habits. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
guessing when you got out of your arm slot, it was because you were compensating for something else. And it's just that kind
Yes.
of pain.
Well, back in the day, a lot of elbow issues came from guys that had shoulder issues and vice versa. Because if one thing hurts, you compensate because you want to get out there and play. So you do these different things. And next thing you know, your elbow hurts. And it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, you're changing your mechanics because you don't want one thing to hurt. So then something else starts hurting. So it's just it's a terrible thing that happens. But when you want to be out there on the field, you do what you got to do. And that's what Matt did. You know, I mean, 220 he hit, or I think is what you said. He was still out there for 145 plus games, though. He still wanted to be out there and do what he could for the team.
And the team wanted him there. You know, a guy like
Yeah.
Terry Francona is not putting someone at a position just to be nice. He
Right.
wants it. Like, I mean, Tito's background shows you he's doing it to
Yeah.
win, and he felt
Yeah.
like, you know, these red portions that are on this were valuable, and
Yeah.
Matt being there every day was valuable. Like, you know, that's who Matt was last year, but we can look. This is who he was. Um, it's almost the opposite, right? And it just is amazing. I look at it, the barrel percentage, the launch angle sweet spot percentage. Um, those things were good, and also the chase rate was a little different.
Mhm.
And I guess what is it there? That's 72nd percentile, and he was like 60 there, so he was, you know, not that big a difference. But I think when you are struggling at the plate, from people I've talked to, you're gonna chase more,
Mhm.
and especially if you're a guy who is always hit, you do that in there. What really kind of is behind my thought process and my belief in Matt McLain is the are these two things and the differences. Like, okay, you know what? He was great at the plate for them as a rookie, and he was a catalyst. And honestly, when we talk about 2023, I know everybody rightfully talks about what Elly De La Cruz did and the impact he made when he was called up. But May 15th, you look, this team kind of turned a corner when Matt McLain was called up. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I see. Oh, you're telling me we have a guy better than this down on the farm? Heck, let me see him. And we did. So you look at this 2023, a bat, great bat. But then you look, okay, the bat's not there. I'm gonna do those other things, and he did,
Mhm.
and good for him. I think that's unbelievable, and I expect this number, that batting run value. I mean, heck, even if it's somewhere in the middle, not
Yeah.
if it's somewhere in the middle, it's average. And if he's giving you average production at the plate, I think those other things are there, and you're feeling really good. And that's another thing that I think Gino does. And not to
Mhm.
belabor this point, but I will belabor this point. Like, you don't have to try too hard in this lineup. None of these guys,
Yeah.
you know, Gino said this yesterday. He said, I'm not Superman. I'm not going to fix everything. But I think for a lot of these young guys, they don't need Gino to be Superman. They don't need Superman. They need a Eugenio Suárez. And
Right.
just, you watch a guy who's done what he's done. He can talk
Mhm.
to somebody like a Sal Stewart or whoever. I'm like, oh man, we remember like when he went from shortstop to third base, it wasn't seamless. You know, there's always the thought that, oh, well, if you can play shortstop, you can play anywhere. Well, each position's different.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who can talk to a Sal Stewart just about, hey, this is how you, even when you're struggling with this new position. Like, I think of Sal Stewart after the playoff game last year. He's just beating himself up for his play in the field while he had hits. And I think Gino's a guy who was not only can tell you how to handle messing up in one part and just putting it out of your mind to keep
Mhm.
going, but he shows you that. You know, he
Yeah.
lives like that. Like, I mean,
It's
again,
not fake.
it's not fake, and like the whole good vibes only thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was really born in 2020 when he is coming back from a shoulder injury and struggling. He went from
Mm-hmm.
a 290 hitter or 270 or something the year before to 200 hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And those his last 2 years with the Reds, he just wasn't the same guy on the field, but he was the same guy off the field and even kind of increased. Like we talked about Matt McLain getting better at base running and fielding
Mm-hmm.
because his bat wasn't there. Gino got even better at those innate things that he was so good with to begin with. And to be able to
Yeah.
share that, to be able to share coming back from shoulder injury and shoulder surgery with Matt McLain and just being,
Mm-hmm.
for any of us, when somebody's been there before and you're going through tough times and then just go, dude, I get it. I've been there and there is
Mm-hmm.
proof. You remember them being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is about mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's again like, and I'm not gonna to keep on the Suarez thing, but like that was one of the reasons this team was willing to go above and beyond for Kyle Schwarber because he has that reputation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've heard of other guys who've had that reputation, but when they came here, they weren't that guy.
Yeah.
Well, Gino's reputation was built here with
Yeah.
these people.
Mm-hmm.
He, he's going to have the same trainer, the same nutritionist. Freddie Benavidez is still here. I talked to Freddie
Yeah.
yesterday, and Freddie was beyond excited too. And Freddie is one heck of a smart baseball man,
Yeah.
and knows what he's doing, and his excitement. And Freddie's pretty even keeled about these things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he you could tell that he was really happy, and that says a lot. And you also, again, DH, Terry Francona's dealt with that. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, if Gino has any questions about going to DH full time, well, Terry Francona's got David Ortiz's number. That's about as good as anybody's ever done it, right? And,
Well, yeah, he became a Hall of Famer because he went to full-time DH.
mm-hmm.
I mean, plain as day. That's what happened.
Yeah, and Gino also knows Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, Hall of Fame DHs right there. So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I love so much about this. I think it's going to help this team in so many different ways, and I think it's going to help Matt McLain.
Yeah. To be able to see somebody like you mentioned have that shoulder issue and struggle, like big time struggle, not just like a little bit. Gina would tell you he was not good.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to get through that adversity, because there's always adversity in this game, Gino has proven that it's capable of being done. And it's just about how you go about your business and how you continue to work to get better and to get healthy, and year after year putting up great numbers. And I think another thing with Gino, he's going to be able to slap some guys with some humble pie that need it without really having to do a whole lot. Just being around is going to be able to have these guys stay humble, because in this game, it's very hard to have that humility. But I see Eugenio Suárez being humbly confident. So this is like a perfect mix of who you can bring in for the clubhouse and the guys at this time. Like the whole shoulder thing with Matt McLain, that's huge. That's huge to have Gino around. And real quick, another thing you were talking about, McLain's 2023 season, arguably the best player on the Reds that year. I
Yes.
think people would say that. He was fifth in National League voting for Rookie of the Year that year with less than 100 games played.
Mm-hmm.
Less games than Elly De La Cruz played that year. More homers than Elly De La Cruz that year. More hits, more RBI. Like everything better except for the stolen bases. So let's not forget that Matt McLain is a baller. You don't just forget how to hit in a year. This guy, I'm telling you, when he's going to be 100% healthy, he's going to be lights out again.
I'm with you. I believe it. That's one of the reasons I'm so optimistic about this season. I'm trying to think of a time I was as optimistic going into a year as I was this one, and it's knowing where you're going to be and building on. And I like how they've built on this success,
Yeah.
and not, you know, they're running it back, but they're not just running it back. And the Geno Suárez is a big part of that. I'm much more excited about this now than I was a couple days ago.
Yeah. How can you not be? You know?
Go on the internet. They'll teach you.
Well, instead of people going on the internet, they need to come and watch us and listen to us and get our perspective.
Internet,
I know, but I mean like other social media apps. You know what I mean?
I do. I was just saying crap because that's what I do here.
We are on the internet, and my internet's working great today, by the way.
It is. Look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was ever your internet. I think it was the computer, and so
yeah.
You know, it's just kind of like Matt McLain. You put the past behind you. You figure out what's gonna work, and here we are, Danny Graves. You are just yet again showing us the way to be the best we can be. Myself, Matt McLain, LeBron James, you have taught us all.
Dwayne Johnson.
Well, Dwayne Johnson, I feel like you were just pointing him in the right direction.
That's right. Yeah.
You told him it was LeBron James. Watch when you big leagued LeBron James. That was a mental thing.
Yeah. He remembers that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Next time I talk to LeBron, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, you remember Danny Graves?" Like, oh, one of these days, maybe I'll be good enough for Danny Graves to say hi.
I did throw 7 innings that day. If that makes any difference. I didn't win, but still threw 7.
You know,
moving right
LeBron
along.
Wasn't going 7.
Huh?
I said
LeBron wasn't. No.
So yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's a pretty good thing. Second base, we feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm guessing our next show is next show we'll talk about shortstop, and that's always a fun conversation when you're talking about this team right now because their shortstop's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an interesting conversation. So until then, this is Riverfront Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. I am C. Trent Rosecrans, and he, former big leaguer, ask LeBron James, Danny Graves. Please rate and review us. You can email us at riverfrontterritory@gmail.com. And maybe once I get down to spring training next week, we can have people email in questions and ask some things, and we'll talk a little bit about what it looks like on the ground. Although I'm not going out till Wednesday. Pitchers and catchers report Monday, but my experience that day is it's not exactly necessary for me to be there.
Yeah, because that's just everybody saying hi to everybody, and that's it.
And then the next day they're having physicals, and then the next day they're working out, and I'll be there that day. So I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to be there when they're like turning and coughing.
Yeah, I don't want to be there when they're turning and coughing. Not any of my business. Not that I'm against anything. If that's your, if that gets you going,
that's what you want. Yeah.
As long as it's cool. So this has been
all right.
Consensual. Our time together, always consensual. Danny, thanks again. We will see you next week. And I guess I should end this.
See ya.